Hello, this is Brenda Little from the Cheyenne League of Women Voters. And I have the pleasure today of speaking with Sara Burlingame, who is a candidate for House District 11. Sara will be introducing herself. I'm going to ask her a series of 4 questions. In between the 2 questions, I'm going to give her a flash feedback word, and she will not know what word I'm going to give her. And then I'm going to ask Sara to take a couple of minutes to make a closing statement for us. So, Sara, are you ready to get started?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you please introduce yourself to us, including how long you've lived in Cheyenne or Laramie County, what your personal and professional background is, and the experience you've had that prepares you for this position, and what elected offices you've already held, and then please describe your civic and volunteer involvement. And of course, we want to know what motivated you to run for office. You've got a couple of minutes, Sara.
Hi, thanks so much, Brenda. Thanks so much to your newest League of Women involved. I'm Sara Burlingame. I'm running to represent House District 11. And my family has lived in Laramie County for almost 30 years now. And, we chose Cheyenne and Laramie County because this is where, my husband Jason and I wanted to raise our sons. And we have not regretted a day of it. We're really proud to be Cheyenne residents in the equality state. So some of your questions were my personal or still call me the bread lady. And if you're new to Cheyenne, they think like, why are they doing that? And it's because I used to own a small business, and it was called Sarah's Bread Company. And I made artisan sourdough bread, and I sold it at, farmers markets and some of the restaurants here in town. And it was a great part of my life when, my middle child was really young. And since then, I've gone on to be the lead equality. And there is people think, well, that's real different, baking bread and running a statewide nonprofit. But it's the same thing in terms of you form relationships with people, you show up, people know they can trust you. And whether you're selling them bread or you're advocating for equality, all of it at the end of the day comes down to, are you representing the people of Wyoming? More fair, more just? Is it easier to buy a loaf of bread, or is it harder? And those are the kinds of nuts and bolts questions that I really like. And those are the sort of things that have led me to running for House District 11. One of the things I was really passionate about and worked on long before I ever thought about the legislature was the grocery tax. I thought that it was hard on working families like mine, and that the state that could meet the need instead of making it harder for us at the grocery store. So I stood outside in the rain and collected signatures along with lots of folks here in Laramie County, and was really, really proud to see that pass and to see the legislature take it seriously, and say, there is some tax relief that we can give you. And, for a lot of reasons, I thought I want to be part of that. And right now we're in a real crux. We've got some great investments coming in, and I want to be part of those solutions. I want to make sure that we're not passing down cost to my kids or grandkids. I want to make sure that we're not burdening the taxpayers when there are other forms of revenue, and I want to fight for it. So that's what I'm planning to do.
Very good. Thank you, Sara. I'm ready for your first question now. Question 1, what specific policies or reforms do you think Wyoming could effectively implement to reduce healthcare costs for the uninsured and underinsured? And you have 2 minutes, Sara.
Yeah, this is an easy one. I don't know that I will even need the full 2 minutes, Brenda, because the voters of Laramie County, and certainly my district, House District 11, have been polled, have been questioned every which way up and down. And we know that Medicaid expansion is cost effective. We know that it helps drive prices down for everybody. And we know that it makes sure that people, if you can't go to the doctor, then you can't go to work. And the people who are making these sort of bad faith, claims that it will be too expensive for everyone, it's just not true. It's just not true. So top of the list of my priorities. And I will say that, like the Freedom Caucus won really big in the primary. And I think people will notice that the momentum that we had to pass Medicaid expansion is going to come to a halt or be really slowed down, because they have been very clear that it doesn't matter to them that it serves the constituents. They're going to vote against it.
Thank you, Sarah. Your second question. What accountability and performance measurement standards should be required for all public, private, and charter schools? You have 2 minutes.
Yeah, I can't answer this question in 2 minutes because, the role of the government is to secure the rights of the people. That's what the government should be doing, right? We shouldn't be creating anything new. We shouldn't be dictating. It's to secure the rights of the people. And the Wyoming Constitution right to a free, equitable education. And I am passionate about making sure that that is secured to them. But private schools should do what private schools do. They aren't public, right? I don't want any public money to go to private schools. So this question has a little bit of a twist in it, because it's that assumption that we would change the Wyoming Constitution, and the Wyoming Constitution is very clear. No public monies can go to parochial or private schools. I believe that our founders, when they wrote that, had the best, highest use in mind, that all Wyoming children would have equal access. And what private schools want to do, fantastic. I personally, we homeschooled my oldest for junior high, because that fit our family's needs. I did not expect the government to pay for it. And I think most Wyoming that private schools are private, and you use private funds, including homeschoolers, and public schools are public and should use public funds. And the measurements and the metrics that we have in place right now, honestly, I think they're a little bit heavy-handed, the state standardized testing that we do, but they meet the need. And I would strenuously object to adding more benchmarks, more testing, because I think our public school teachers are actually I think that they lose latitude with what they can do in the classrooms when we overburden them with too much testing.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Are you ready for your first flash feedback question?
I'm ready.
I guess it's a word. It's a
Am I
word,
gonna
not a
like
question.
stream of consciousness?
Yeah. So let's try this one, Sarah. Ethics. You've got a minute to talk on ethics.
The bottom line and the standard of everything that we do at the Wyoming legislature. And I think, folks, if you look really closely or look really broadly at the people who share your values and hold ourselves to an ethical standard, regardless of who's in the room or who's watching, I think I stand out against my opponent. And I'm grateful that the word ethics is, without it, it's all just noise, and it's all just empty talking points.
Thank you, Sarah. Now, question number 3. what infrastructure investments do you think are necessary to support the state's long-term economic growth?
Yeah, that's right. So here in Laramie County, I'm very aware that water is going to become an issue. So water is at the top of my list for here in Laramie County, making sure that, you know, if you turn on your tap, if you want to water your garden, that we have not created a situation where we have grown so irresponsibly that that becomes a problem for you. That's government not doing its job, right? If you can't water your garden, if you can't, you know, turn your tap on for some water for a cup of tea, then it's so unsexy. People don't like to talk about it, but our roads and the infrastructure for our roads and bridges, we're at a critical point. And this is something where you need responsible, serious people who are not going to talk about slashing 30, 40% from all of these budgets because they think it sounds good and it will buy your vote. The people who are going to invest in roads, invest in bridges, so that your kids, your grand sustainable ways to travel. That, I mean, if you've been through a Wyoming winter, you know how important that is. So water and roads.
Thank you, Sarah. And your final question, question number 4, how would you engage in constructive dialogue with those who have opposing views? You have 2 minutes, Sarah.
This feels like a softball. Now, my life's work is saying, how can we get people together in the room who don't necessarily agree on everything and find the place where we do agree and keep the ball rolling, find a solution that works for everybody. The late Senator Mike Enzi, you know, I think was the most famous proponent of this, who said, you know, you find that 20% and you work on it. And I think he was well respected because he didn't just talk about it. Folks know about me, right? That I don't just talk about it, I do it. Right now in Wyoming, we have a real sort of battle for our soul. And I like the old school traditional Wyoming. I like live and let live. I like, you know, the golden rule of the snow ditch. Don't ask who they voted for or who they want to smooch. Just help get them out of the snow ditch. Like, that should be the rule. And I think that those values are the ones that are going, hey, we fought really hard. And, you know, we protected your pocket. We made sure that the government didn't come in and take more money. We made sure that, you know, your roads were safe. And you can't have those conversations if you're really busy slinging mud and saying everybody's a demon and everybody's, you know, these terrible names. It's a real skill. Talking to people who come from different places is a skill, and it's one that I've worked really hard. I've always felt, you know, when I travel other places that, well, it's not me. Like, that's just a Wyoming value. That's how we are here.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm going to go right on into closing statements. So you're going to have a couple minutes to finish up with us. Will you give us 2 minutes to talk about, if you're elected, what you hope to achieve? What is the greatest strength that you bring to this position? How would you promote civility? And why should voters choose you over your opponent? You have 2 minutes to tell us all of that, Sarah.
Well, thanks. Thank you, Brenda. Thank you, League of Women Voters. I think that the questions that you've asked are very indicative of the values that the League of Women Voters has and what you're trying to. I'm very grateful for it. Yeah, my priority is making sure that everyday families like mine have somebody to represent them and their values. I go to the grocery store. I have to fill up my trunk or my trunk. I have to fill up my truck, with gas, and it's getting harder and harder. I'm not immune from that. And solutions. I know it means that we need someone who's really fighting and really representing everyday Cheyenne folks. So that's what motivates me. And I think, my opponent, moved here a year and a half ago, and I think he's a nice young man. And I also don't think he's a serious young man. And I would say that if you look at my background, and because they're our neighbors. I don't have any out-of-state interests backing me. I don't have any DC franchises, wanting to write me scripts to read, and be a mouthpiece for out-of-state ideas. And that sounds kind of harsh, but I think people need to know who they're voting for. And I hope at the end of the day, you feel like you know me. I'm your neighbor. We've met. I might have sold you bread, might have knocked on your door and asked for your vote. Our kids might play football together. And I think that those are the values that folks are looking for right now and feel like they can trust. So on November 5th, or, early voting started yesterday, and we've got great, very secure voting and election systems here in Laramie County. And if anybody tells you differently, they're lying. Go down and
You locked up on me, Sarah.
oh, I think you were frozen for me.
Yeah, there we go. All right.
Okay.
Were you finished with your statement? I didn't want to
Yep, that's my
Okay. All right, very good. Very good.
2 minutes.
Well, I apologize for the shaky connection, but I think it'll work out just fine. So I want to thank Sara Burlingame for spending some time with us today. I'm joined with a young lady, a young high school student here in town who is learning all about doing these interviews. She's our newest member of the Cheyenne League of Women Voters. So on her behalf, I thank you as well. And the League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization that promotes voting. And so we want to encourage everyone who is listening to this broadcast, and just everyone in the Cheyenne and Laramie County community, please vote. Your voice needs to be heard. And as Sarah mentioned, early voting started yesterday, so you can